All of the rest of you, I'm Kendra Coooley. If you can't tell by my awesome accent, I'm from the US, so don't throw things at me. All right, so the name of this talk is Practical Analysis of Awareness. But what I really wanted to call this talk was your 6% click rate doesn't mean shit. Now, how many of you guys run like phishing campaigns where you work? Good click rates? Do you guys know? Have any you want to throw out there and share? Cool. Okay. 14%, 25%. What? 40%. Ouch. All right. So I think based on your click rate, we can pretty much just say like your security awareness program probably needs some work maybe, right? All right. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I promise I will stay on time here. All right. So the technical stuff of For Who Am I? So I got my bachelor's in digital forensics from Davenport University, which is like a no-name school in Michigan. I didn't even know what the mascot was. That's how much I didn't pay attention. So apparently I was a Panther, which is pretty cool. I have my CISSP, which means you can trust me. I specialize in incident response. That's definitely what I prefer to do on a daily basis. And then also security awareness training is something that's really, really near and dear to my heart. So that's kind of why I'm talking about this today. And I'm also, most importantly, this beautiful lady's opening act today. So, all right. Now, the non-technical stuff. American, as I said. Sorry. Animal lover. I have 3 dogs, 3 ducks. Yes, ducks. And a goose that just showed up one day and never left. Weird. I also love wine and do-it-yourself projects. Pinterest has literally been the death of me. I've built all different kinds of things really badly that have pretty much all fallen apart. And I love to tell stories, so hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about some different stuff while I'm up here. All right, so for those of you that are not familiar with the US, that is what it looks like. I am from Michigan, that little yellow dot. And most recently I worked for Duo Security, great company, loved it. But it's time for me to move on. So I'm shipping myself to Atlanta in like 20 days. And I will be working for MailChimp. So yes, I'm scared, to say the least. So better weather, you're absolutely right, but I know nobody there. So if you guys know anybody that's in like the Atlanta area, please feel free to send them my way. I need friends. So for the last year, what I did at Duo Security was I built their incident response program from the ground up. It was really, really super exciting work. I loved it. So when it came time for me to find a new job, I knew that was something that I wanted to focus on again. So luckily, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing at MailChimp. So I will be building their incident response program again from the ground up and then also helping with their security awareness program. I love this shirt. I found this at a Forever 21 one day, and I had to take a picture because I thought it was so great. So yes, excuse my French, I don't speak any. Now, most of the time when you hear people, they're like, oh, I'm going to learn a new language, or you come across somebody who speaks a new language, what's the first thing that you want them to teach you how to say? Swear words. I learned fruits because I'm weird. So I don't speak any French. I could tell you how to say like apple, phone, right? Fucking got it. Nailed it. First try. All right. So now that you guys know everything about me, we're going to go around the room and we're going to talk about who you guys are. Totally kidding. We don't have time for that. But just by a show of hands, because I do want to know a little bit more about like my audience. How many of you guys in here are red teamers? A few. Are the rest of you blue? Raise your hand if you're a blue teamer. Yes. Awesome. That's awesome. Now, how many of you guys actually participate in like the security awareness program at the place that you work? Create it. Awesome. It's rewarding work, isn't it? It's great. All right, cool. So why are you here? I paid you. Yes, a few of you I did pay to show up. No, but at the end of the day, our decisions generally come down to whether it's something that's organic, we're doing it because we want to, or it's mandated. Either one of those two things pretty much drive every decision that we make in our lives, right? So for those of you that are here organically, that put your butts in the seats because you just wanted to see my face, you're not the people in the front here, you have genuine interest in this topic, hopefully. You came to learn. Now, for those of you that were mandated to be here, it's obligatory, right? You're like, dang it, I guess I'll go watch, because otherwise she'll just give me the stink eye for the rest of the conference, and I don't want to deal with that. You came to check a box, potentially, right? How many of you guys think about your security awareness programs in kind of a similar fashion? How many of you guys feel like it's so much just check the box, meet that compliance requirement? That's really unfortunate because of the fact that we want our employees to have a genuine interest in security. We want them to feel that it's something organic in the culture. We want a good security awareness culture at our place of work. It's Michelle Obama here telling us we got to take our education seriously. And we do. But how do you force someone to take their education seriously? I mean, take a look at me, for example. I didn't even know what my school's mascot was because I did the absolute bare minimum. You know, basically how I do everything in my life. I officially finished these slides like 20 minutes before I got up here, so it's a good thing the last one ran late. All right, so we're going to talk about 4 different things today. We're going to talk about the current state of security awareness. We're also going to talk about what we're getting wrong, and if your problem, or how do we know if your program is successful, aside from just that 6% click rate that you're touting, or 40%, I guess, in some cases. Now, we're also going to talk a little bit about how we can improve our efforts when it comes to security awareness. So the current state of security awareness, everybody in here is familiar with security awareness programs, I would hope. So we're not going to go through too much of like what it actually is. But for the most part, when you look at it, you're breaking it down into different types of training, whether it be like an online learning module or National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which we all just finished, or fake phishing campaigns. Everyone's seen those fake phishing campaigns. We have all participated in NCSAM celebrations and things like that, but what happens as soon as NCSAM is over? Nobody gives a shit, right? So that's exactly one of the biggest problems when it comes to security awareness training is it happens once a year and then we just forget about it. We just move on to the rest of the day-to-day stuff and hope people absorbed it. But what about those people that are hiring in November 1st that missed it? You're telling me they got to wait all the way until October to make a bunch of security mistakes before we're going to train them? That's definitely not a good way to go. So, what is it? Baking crisis, I think is the term. I think that's kind of what that looks like. But that is how our users feel when they hear that they have to take a security awareness training, whether it be an online module or attend a stupid person talking about security awareness because they think they know everything already. So it's like, it's mandated, right? It's not happening organically like we would prefer. So depending on your organization, security awareness can fit in many different departments. So we have like the security team obviously can house the security awareness program. Oftentimes it falls under the umbrella of compliance. Sometimes it's, the human resources team, which I don't know why we would give them that responsibility. Legal or the training and development teams. That's generally where the security awareness program is held. And at the end of the day, what we're hoping to do is avoid being that next big breach in the news, right? Has anybody here worked for a company that suffered a breach? Oh, it's a bad feeling, right? Yeah, so that's what we're trying to avoid when it comes to security awareness training. We're trying to make sure that we're educating our users and making sure that they are aware of the things that they should and should not do to help us to avoid becoming that next news story. And it's up to all of us to be the ones to educate them. But the biggest problem when it comes to security awareness training is the fact that we're not able to connect with our users on the things that they actually care about. So it just ends up becoming, oh, it's policy, so I guess I'll use two-factor authentication. Now, one of the biggest questions when you're starting to build a security awareness program is whether to build it or buy it. Now, Hayden, here in the front, you mentioned that you're building a security awareness program from the ground up. So when it came to deciding build it or buy it, what way did you go?
I built it from my pen testing and phishing experience.
All right, so he built it from his pen testing and phishing experience, which is great. And at the end of the day, when you boil it down, there's a few things that we're actually looking for. We want to make sure that it's meeting compliance requirements. We want to be able to check that box. Even though, it's it's just checking a box. It's really, really important. We also are looking at the price, right? Especially if we're buying it, it has to fit in our budget. Depending on your company, you might have a big or a small budget. We want to educate employees. At the end of the day, that's what we're really looking for. And we also want it to be relevant to our industry. If you work for a hospital, you're going to want stuff that's aimed a little bit more towards like personally identifiable information and protecting all of that data. Right, yeah, privacy is different when it comes to like the healthcare industry and stuff like that. So we want it to be relevant to our industry. Now I'm going to show a bunch of buy it options now for security awareness training. I do not endorse any of these. I'm just showing them. All right, so we have Fish Me, we have Wombat, The Sands, Patch the Human, Fish Line, Know Before. We have all of these different options of companies that we can pick. There are literally like 1,000 more companies out there that are putting together security awareness programs. But at the end of the day, you're getting a package. You're getting something that's kind of like a plug and play feature. Maybe it's online modules and things like that. But it's not really customized necessarily to your industry or to your specific needs. So the do-it-yourself, and yes, I'm going to put all this on Pinterest so that people can do it yourself. Do it yourself security awareness. That'll be the topic there. So it can still meet those security requirements or the compliance requirements. That's, at the end of the day, that's something that's really important. It can usually cost less than buying it, depending on who's running it. Now, if it's me, it's probably expensive. Educate the employees, hopefully. How many of you guys have ever taken an online training module and just fast forwarded or put headphones in and not? Yeah. What do you think your employees are doing when you give them an online security training module? They're not watching that, guarantee it. Relevant to your industry, obviously that's very important. We want people to be able to take something away from it that matters to them, that matters to the things that they're doing in their day-to-day lives. Also, it's challenging to build your own, right? Right, Hayden? It's challenging. You have to figure out where to start, where your employees' level of awareness is, what's relevant, what actually matters. So it's challenging, but at the end, you get a totally personalized security awareness program, which is great. And if not you, then who? I would have had so many more amazing gifts in here, but the Wi-Fi in this hotel sucks. So this one is awesome though. So if not you, then who? If you're not going to build this program, if you're not going to care about security awareness, where are your users getting their education about security? The news. Oh God. CNN, fake news, or whatever they call it, in USA land. What was that? Alternative facts. Alternative facts, absolutely. This presentation is full of those alternative facts. I'm just kidding. But yeah, if not you, then people are learning about security in a fear-based sense, unfortunately. If you look at the headlines, if you look at the things that are in the news, people are freaking out over the next ransomware virus and different things like that. So it's a really, really poor tactic when it comes to security awareness. We want to create a culture that's based on education and not fear. A lot of companies like to spread this, culture of paranoia, of fear, right? They want everybody to be scared. Sure, it's important. We need to be cautious, but we don't want people to be fearful. We want them to know that at the end of the day, if something happens, if they click something they're not supposed to, if they download something they shouldn't, we've got their back. That's what's most important when it comes to a security awareness program. All right, so where are we getting it wrong? Where do you guys think we're getting it wrong when it comes to security awareness? Go ahead. Blaming the user, exactly. So that goes also into that fear tactic. Yep. Sorry, I'm drinking. I feel obligated to finish this. Yes, personal buy-in. If you don't personally feel connected to something or have some personal reason to actually care, you're not going to at the end of the day. And for a lot of users, security is the last thing that they care about. They're not going home at night and talking to their spouses or their kids about being secure online or using two-factor or using strong passwords. Hell, most of them are reusing passwords and all of that kind of stuff. So if we're not able to connect with them, then we're really getting it wrong. Here's my list of things that suck. All right, special snowflakes. How many of you guys know what those are? Are your companies full of special snowflakes that are exempt from security awareness training? Oh my gosh. So at a company that I previously worked for, not Duo, just saying not Duo, we had a bunch of special snowflakes. The entire C-level, so CEO, CFO, all those guys, we were not allowed to fish them. They also didn't have to take security awareness training. Who gets targeted the most in a company? Than the C-level, right? Their names are on the website. It's super easy to figure out what their email addresses are. And they don't know jack squat about avoiding a phishing email. But we're not gonna play with them, right? We're not gonna make them go through anything. Checking the box. We just wanna get up there, check the box. Yep, everybody participated in some type of security awareness training this year. Moving on. Hit or miss with employees is another huge thing. Again, going back to, you're not connecting with them personally. So let's say that you have a security awareness training and you've got like developers, you've got the entry-level employee who's never had any type of security awareness training. You're speaking to this person probably. Let's say that our awareness program is right in the middle. This person down here is missing a lot of stuff because they don't understand it. And the person up here with the higher level of education is like, this sucks, I know all of this, and they're zoning out, right? So just having that middle ground security awareness program, we're missing the mark. There's no transparency, oftentimes when it comes to security. One of the biggest things that I tried to implement at Duo was making sure that we were very transparent with our users when it came to letting them know about the things that were happening in the news. It's very important that you get out in front of them and let them know the things that they should be aware of, the things that they should be looking for. How does this relate to their personal lives? Because at the end of the day, that's what they care about, how they protect their personal lives. Fear-based approach. Again, we talked about that. That's not a successful way to run a security awareness program. And then reusing the same tactics. So for those of you that have run phishing awareness programs in the past, how many of you guys have gotten emails from your users after you've sent one saying, haha, I found the information in the header, I know what to look for, this is from da-da-da-da-da, and they start expecting it around the same time of year. The same campaigns are run over and over and over again. So that's why we're getting that really low click rate, right? It's not effective. It's really not effective. They're getting really good at spotting those fake messages. Now, attackers, for those of you that are red teamers, or that have kind of dealt with those people, what they're doing is they're doing a little bit more recon when they're actually sending a message, right? So one of the things that I did at Duo most recently was one of our phishing campaigns that we sent out, we actually used the data that we were finding on Twitter to target a phishing campaign to our employees. So we had a big hack day at the company, and we were like, just trolling Twitter, and all of a sudden we see all these posts of people that are like, hack day at Duo, everything's great, blah, 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 blah. And I started thinking, I wonder how many other people are watching this Twitter account right now that now know all of our employees are engaged in something that's not general work activities. Their guard's probably down. Their security team is probably not participating in the things that they generally do. It became a really, really, really effective phishing campaign. We got a lot of people with that. It wasn't just the standard, hey, your credit card has been charged for X number of dollars, or here's your flight itinerary. Most employees at companies don't travel, so they're not going to fall for something like that. Highlighting security education only once per year, so depressing. We should be talking about security all the time. We should find ways to integrate it into our users, in our users' faces more than once per year. Because like I said, you have that employee that starts on November 2nd, and they've never had security awareness training. Guess what they're clicking on? Every link. All right, so is our program successful? What are some ways that you guys are currently looking at your data and able to determine whether or not it's your employees are security aware? What are some things that you guys are doing? Anything besides the click rate? Okay, so basically looking at the traffic on their machines to see like what types of things they're accessing, what types of callbacks are being made. So yeah, so that would definitely be one thing that you could look for. Absolutely.
Emails to the security team saying, hey, this looks fishy.
Yes. Yes. There is so much valuable information in the information that is reported to the security team or not reported to the security team. I know it's very annoying every time that an employee messages you like, hey, this looks fishy, and it's just like a marketing email. I know it's annoying, but that means a lot. That means that they are being watchful and they're looking for the things that just aren't right, and they're sending them off to security. Always, 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 always nurture that behavior. Send an email back. Let them know, hey, yep, this one happens to be a marketing email, but thanks for being vigilant. It means a lot, and it helps to continue that behavior. All right. So currently we're looking at things like, are people taking our online training modules? Most of the time, if they're mandatory, then yeah, they're absolutely going to take them. The number of employees that are attending your trainings, yeah, that can be a pretty good indicator of success of your awareness program. But if it's a mandated presentation, they're going to be there anyway, right? The click rate on that phishing test does not mean anything, guys. It really doesn't show us that much. And, well, we haven't been breached, that you know of. So yeah, sometimes that could be a really good indicator that our employees are security aware. But how do we know if we're getting it right? How do we actually know if these programs, if the money that we're draining into these programs, which are expensive, and we're talking like $15+ a month per user for an individual license. I mean, the licensing fees are crazy. And then the amount of time that you're investing in actually building that program. You know, Hayden, that's probably taken up a lot of your time specifically. And you want to make sure that it's successful. You want to make sure that you're hitting the mark. So we want to start with the basics. When I built Duo Security Awareness Program, one of the things that I talked about, now every new hire class sat through a presentation with me day one. And we talked about the 5 basics, which are listed here. So updating your devices, using strong passwords, using unique passwords, using a password manager, and using 2-factor authentication. Now, for a lot of people, this might seem like common knowledge. But it's amazing how many people aren't doing just these very basic things. Now, if we talk again about the high-level user and the low-level user, if we're just staying right in that middle area, we're missing things, right? So we want to take them right down to the basics and make sure that they're doing at least these 5 fundamental things. And at the end of the day, what I want to do is make sure that I'm relating it to them personally. Everything that I talk about, especially in that day one presentation, I want to make sure that they're taking something out of that and going home with it. And to do that, we want to relate it to them personally by letting them know what can happen to their personal devices if they're not updating. Because at the end of the day, that's what they care about, right? And we should hopefully all have regulations and policies and things like that in place at work that help to make sure that we're actually updating our devices, that they're using strong passwords. But we can't protect them at home. So we want to make sure that that security mindset goes home with them, because how often do breaches occur because of things that people are doing in their personal lives, right? It's a lot of loss to a company can happen from that. So we don't want to relate it just to a policy. Employees don't really care about policies. You give them their code of conduct to read, they don't. They just sign it and move on, right? We all know that. Hell, I don't read it. All right. So how can we improve this? What can we do to improve our security awareness program? Yes, we're not perfect. I love this dog. It's so cute. All right. So we want to educate everyone. Enough with those special snowflakes. Everybody gets security awareness training at some level. We need to specialize the training as well. Developers, people that are more aware of security, they still need training, but we need to specialize it to them. Another thing that's really important is if you take a look at your organization and you break down each specific job or each specific department's duties. How many of you guys have like call centers where you work at? Anybody? Is anyone doing actual like training with them on like social engineering? No? If we break down the specific departments and we look at the things that actually can target them or the things that they're vulnerable to, we can create those trainings that actually matter to them, which is very important. We want to switch it up. Yeah, phishing campaigns are great. They give us a good, really nice, hard number for a metric. But there's other things we can do too. USB drops, like there's so many things that we can do. Different trainings. One of the best things that you can do, set out locks. Invite people to come pick locks. It's amazing the questions that you get during that interaction because they're guards down. It's not a room like this where you're talking at somebody for 40, 50 minutes. They're guards down. They'll ask you more of those questions that actually matter to them. And that helps to also build more content into your security awareness programs. Transparency, share real examples. Following that phishing campaign that we sent out from the Twitter account, the data that we found on Twitter, we let everybody know that that was how we came up with that campaign. Sharing those real examples, obviously if you find something that could potentially embarrass someone or something like that, we don't want to do anything like that. Generalize it, but share those real stories. It's really, really important so that people can relate it back to themselves. Hey.
Give me examples of why I had a security being phased.
Absolutely. So Hayden said that he likes to tell people that he personally has been phished. Honestly, I probably have been too. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us have, even like before we got into the industry and things like that. It's very easy to fall for that kind of stuff. And one of the other really important things is to be an ally to these people, to your employees. Make sure that they know that they can come to you with those questions. Knowing what's important to your employees, again, setting up those locks and having them come and have just a general conversation with you is something that's going to help you to understand their concerns in their department, the things that worry them at home, and then you can help to kind of address those types of things. And nurture curiosity. Curiosity is great, right? It doesn't always kill the cat. Sometimes it does, but it's very important to nourish, to nourish that curiosity that's in our employees. And then encourage and reward good behavior. Sending a simple email letting you know that something seems suspicious, reward that person. If you have a team Slack channel or something like that, give them karma, send them a shout out, let them know, let everybody in the company know, hey, this person just identified this, even though it wasn't even something that was legitimate, we're really thankful that they were vigilant and that they sent this to us. It's really important. So one of the big things that I do, especially for the onboarding class, is immediately following, about an hour after their initial onboarding class where we talk a lot about phishing and the dangers and things like that, I give them about an hour to forget everything I talked about. Probably takes like 20 minutes. And I phish them immediately. Click rates are high. But guess what? That one phish that they have just been exposed to on day one sparks a little bit of paranoia. They never open emails for me again, It's one of those things, which is fine. Totally fine. But seeing that on day one helps them to be a little bit more concerned about the types of things that they could potentially get in their email inbox. Now, if you have a new hire that starts and then you wait 10 months to get them any type of really security awareness training, they could potentially click on a phishing email and then what, That's a problem. So day 2 of their onboarding, we always revisit them, go through kind of a refresher, talk about other things that they probably forgot. And what we do is we create a really safe environment for them to talk about why they either clicked or why they did not click on that phish. The things that they might have seen had they looked a little closer, and then just to kind of start like nourishing that relationship between us and the new employees so that they know it's safe to come and talk to us about the things that, even though some of them might have messed up, it's okay. You can still come talk to us. We want those things reported. It's very important. All right, so then another thing that I like to talk about is being proactive versus reactive. So if you think about this again as kind of like organic versus mandated, any of you have the unfortunate experience of ever being like robbed or having things stolen from you or anything like that? Terrible feeling, right? One conversation that I had with someone recently, they said, well, yeah, I installed a security system in my house after it got broken into. So you're being reactive, you're taking a reactive measure, when potentially if you were proactive and you had installed that security system, that may have not happened, right? So those are the types of things that you can easily relate back to your employees to help it hit home. Make it that real in that graphic, because those are the things that they care about. They care about safety. They care about their families. Relate that back in a way that makes them want to be more secure with computers as well. It's my favorite slide. I want you all to be criminals. Yes, be criminals. Every time that I put this in a slide, especially for a security awareness training, and I encourage engaging a criminal mindset, I get the weirdest looks, especially from like the CEOs of the company. It's weird. They don't generally like that. But it's very important that if we're all thinking like criminals, we're thinking about those attackers, we're thinking like them, it makes it a lot easier to identify the things that are wrong. So one of the things that I like to talk about is like, if you see someone's badge laying around, pick it up and turn it in, because if that gets into the wrong person's hands, think about all the damage that could be done. Getting into rooms that potentially they shouldn't, things like that. So engaging a criminal mindset can really help to make it so your users are looking for the things that they should be looking for. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about where we should be looking. As I mentioned earlier, reports from your employees have so much valuable information. It lets you know the things that are suspicious to them and the things that they're seeing on a daily basis. And by encouraging that reporting behavior, you get a lot of really great information out of this. And if you're not getting a lot of these reports, then you potentially need to encourage more reporting. Employee behaviors. One of my favorite things that I've ever seen in a company, there's a random person walking around an office taking pictures. They were there for a legitimate reason, but one of the people in the area stood up and was like, "Excuse me, why are you taking pictures?" I was like, "Yes." Walked over, gave her a hug. I was like, "Yes, this is great." That is a really, really important behavior. If everyone just kind of looked around and watched this person taking pictures, or like a random stranger walking around the office that they didn't identify, and they're just like, "Oh, okay, that's weird, that person's weird," and didn't say anything, then they're not being very security aware. So that's definitely another thing that we can look at. And our tools are so valuable. It's absolutely amazing when you take a look at the tools that you're using on a daily basis. How many of you guys are using/mandating a password manager at work? Like enterprise. Okay, so let's talk about LastPass, for instance. They have an enterprise version that allows you to see a lot of really valuable data about your employees. How many passwords are in their vault, different things like that. That'll let you know based on how many user accounts they have, how many things are actually stored in their vault, if they're reusing passwords. All of that stuff is really, really valuable to us as analysts. Updating devices. The rate at which your employees are actually updating devices is very, very helpful to let you know whether or not they're security aware. If they know that as soon as that security update comes out, they need to be updating it, and they do it, that says a lot for your security culture at your company. If that notice comes out, it's been 14 days since the update, and you still haven't updated, and then they're being forced and mandated to update it, you know that they're not taking that part seriously. Using strong and unique passwords. Again, talking about like LastPass or Password Manager, oftentimes with the enterprise versions, we can see a lot of really great data in there about whether or not people are actually using strong and unique passwords. And oftentimes, if they're practicing that good behavior at work, it will bleed over into their real lives as well, especially if we make these things very small and manageable. Using the Password Manager, again, great information there for us to use. And then two-factor authentication, whatever that is, right? Yeah, no big deal. I just worked for Duo. I guess I've heard of them. So yeah, two-factor authentication. How many of you guys actually use Duo? That's a lot of you. That's great. All right. So Duo, any of you guys have like the admin panel access? There's so much really great information available in there that lets you know how your users are authenticating and like how they're two-factoring. So whether it be with a Duo push or like a YubiKey or something like that, that information can be very valuable. Another really great thing that you can get out of that is whether or not they're checking the remember my password for 30 days. And that's something that we can look at too, to see whether or not they're thinking about the fact that the sites that they're using remember my password for 30 days on, is that really good behavior? All right, so that's pretty much the end for me. I love this game. It's so stupid and funny. So yeah, any questions from you guys? Told you I wouldn't eat up the whole time. Any question? Yeah.
With the strong passwords, do you put a longer password reset time every 90 days and so on?
So that's a really good question. So talking about like actually rotating your passwords and things like that, that is actually something that I personally don't tell users to rotate their passwords unless they know or suspect that it's been breached. Because oftentimes what you find is if you're setting a strong password and then you're encouraging them to change it like every 90 days, they're changing like a number at the end. And I know that's what I used to do. Yeah, exactly. So many of us are doing that because it's just like it becomes this monotony of rotating your password and things like that. So kind of getting away from that and just encouraging the use of a very strong password and maybe saying, hey, only remember your computer password, your email password, and your password to your vault. Everything else, as many characters as possible, store it in your vault. That type of thing can really help to encourage really strong security behavior. Any other questions? Yeah?
Have you seen any evidence before in the wild where adversaries trolling Twitter for information, then using that phishing campaign for real?
Oh yeah, definitely. So the question was, have I seen any adversaries in the wild who are actually like trolling Twitter and things like that and actually using those for phishing campaigns? Absolutely. I've also worked with like external contractors and third parties and things like that that have done that to create their campaigns to attack the company, which is very, 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 very successful and effective.